We are live. So, welcome to episode 149 of An American Werewolf in New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf. In the house tonight from freezing London, we've got Morgan Scorpion, Julia Morgan. So thank you for joining us and practically getting up at 1 o'clock in the morning to do this. I feel bad. Like Marty just stays up.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't really sleep, but you actually wake up again to do these and then go back to sleep. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, same here.
And we've got Eric from Hey Internet Eric here joining us once again to shoot the breeze on some not quite what I would call cinema, but a movie.
Yes, sir.
A halfway decent movie. We had gathered around perhaps 2 months ago to discuss a little-known shark movie called 47 Meters Down that I had seen when I was overseas on some foreign type of Netflix or Amazon. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to watch a stupid shark movie. And I proceeded to just be knocked on my ass by how good it was. I was stunned. It was basically two people, the entire, it was basically a cast of two of, people who were going down into the cage, being lowered down to check out some sharks, and you got your tanks on and, you're never in any real danger until the cable on this rickety, and again, I think this is Mexico again or something like that, these rickety Mexican boats, the cable snaps and plunges them down to the floor where they're really in for it. And I couldn't have been more impressed. And this very simplistic and streamlined story that had simply unraveled characters that I cared about. You had Mandy Moore, the two sisters. I forget the other actress's name, but they gave really good performances. And fuck, I was like, shit, this is like the best shark movie after Jaws, because there really aren't that many good. There are a lot of shark movies out there, but a lot of them are bad.
Yep.
Really, really bad. And to me, that was, and you had just come off Shark Week, Eric.
Yeah. I watched a lot of garbage that week. Yeah.
And so, I think you wrapped it up with 47 Meters Down, which was a bit of a buoy, it kind of buoyed your, spirits there.
Yeah, that was my life. That was my life preserver.
Yeah, that worked. So imagine my surprise because I discovered the original kind of late. I think it's a 2017 movie. I think I found it in 2018. When I found out that my local cinema in East Jabip was releasing the sequel, 47 Meters Down, Uncaged. And I was like, holy shit, you've got to be shitting me. And some of my, older students, juniors and seniors in high school, I'd seen it and they're like, fuck, that movie was great. And I'm like, well, do you know, like right down the road, they're playing a sequel and like Jaws just dropped. So I decided to go to the cinema. I actually saw this movie in the cinema. And it is a movie that you should watch in the cinema. Actually, I think sci-fi, I say westerns, war pictures, all on the big screen. You should also see shark movies on the big screen. I mean, if you're going to see a decent one, because of the sound, the cinematography, and the shots underwater, it matters. So I thought after we had covered 47 Meters that we should get in and do the second one. And now here we are. So if you guys are ready, shall we get it going?
Yes, sir.
Boogity woogity. So I told Sydney today, because we had just done a stream today. I've been all over the channel today with shorts and uploads and This is my third live stream of the day. I had told her that I have this tendency when I first go on to talk for like 8 minutes straight. And then I finally turn it over to other people. And I said, people patiently just sort of, bear with me as I, do my thing. But here I'm at the 5-minute mark, so that's progress. And I think that I'll just turn it over to you guys to give initial impressions of 47 Meters Down Uncaged, which is the sequel to the original 47 Meters Down. So whoever wants to take it, go right ahead.
Okay, well, like we kind of said before we went live, it's hard to follow up the first one because I really dug that one a lot. And as you know, that makes it kind of sound like I'm going to be negative with this film, and I'm not, because there is a lot of good in it. It's just kind of, in my opinion, it's just kind of spaced out a little bit more than I was expecting it, but I still had a good time overall. There was no time wasted for me watching this film. I did really enjoy it after all.
It's exactly 90 minutes. And I just finished it before we came on. It hits the credits at 81 minutes. So it's very streamlined. Julia, go ahead. I know we had talked a little in the DMs, and I said we'll save it until we get on the show. Let's hear it.
Let it out, lady.
All right. I'm not going to completely slate it, because I didn't hate it. I just didn't like it very much. I found I was getting bored and drifting off. I didn't engage with the characters at all. I saw the setup, the two sisters who hate each other's guts. And then they decide they love each other at the end. Well, I kind of knew that was going to be the resolution. Yeah. I just could not engage with the characters, and I didn't feel very much tension. The first one, as you know, I loved it, which really surprised me because I didn't expect to. And I started off not liking the female characters, but ending up really cheering them on.
Yeah.
Didn't happen in the second one. One of the things that made the first one so terrifying was the vast body of the open ocean. So having the second one taking place mostly in a confined space took a lot of the fear and the anxiety out of it for me.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I mean, most of the time they could be certain that the shark couldn't get at them, really, because there were an awful lot of safe spaces for them to hide that were shark-proof, which you didn't get in the first one, not after the cage collapsed. I was really taken with the underwater city. I thought that was quite cool, especially when they go into the big cave with all the little stone figures standing around the altar. I totally would have dropped my popcorn if I'd had any. But again, the fact that I was loving the underground city took some of the anxiety away, because there was something beautiful for me to go wow about, which there wasn't in the first one, except for the sharks themselves, which I think they do have a certain beauty to them. I've got several faults with things that happened in the plot, which is this a spoiler-free zone?
Yeah, but let's go through the movie so we're just doing initial thoughts right now, and then as we go through
there were certain things that happened, especially towards the end, that I just couldn't believe.
Okay. I think like many sequels, and I've talked about Sturgeon's Law, that 9 out of 10 things sort of suck. So that 9 out of 10 sequels, by definition, are sort of going to suck. I didn't think it was that bad. You're right. It replaced open spaces with claustrophobia. And it was very beautifully shot. It was shot in two places, because there's a like a 12-minute like documentary on the DVD. And it's just kind of the actresses. And then the guy who plays the dad, Grant. He's on there for he's only in there for a minute. But basically, it's the 4 girls. And it was shot in the Dominican Republic. So like when you saw them doing the cliff diving and doing all that kind of stuff, that was there on location in the DR. When they were in the city, in the Mayan city, that was actually in a tank in London. So I actually thought that was kind of cool. But I agree with Julia in the sense that I really liked those 2 girls from the first one. They were they were older. They were older. They seemed more settled. They seemed more thinking. These were just kind of reactionary, screechy teens. Even if I watched, even when I watched the documentary, they were and they said that they're like, I match my character, like we all match our characters. It was so easy, we just kind of got to be ourselves. And I'm thinking, this is like some sort of bimbo power movie or something like Jesus Christ, what the hell is going on here? Like they weren't acting. Like when you see them in the movie, they're not in character. That's just them being them. Because I just watched them be themselves for 12 minutes, and I'm just like, holy shit, And the only one that was the adult was the dad. And he's only in it for like a minute and a half.
Well, the mom's in it even less. They got
no. I mean in the doc.
Oh, okay.
In the documentary, he's only it's a 12 minutes. It's 10 and a half minutes of the girls, about 90 seconds of him. And he's the only actor of note in this, just like Matthew Modine was the only actor of note in the first one. But yeah, this is kind of like some sort of bimbo power movie. It's very strange. And they were just like, we lied to the director and told him he could swim. And I'm just like, holy shit, you really aren't acting. This is really you. Okay, you made a movie. I can't put you down, but yeah, I think I get some of what Julia's talking about.
I do.
You aren't terribly invested in these characters.
No,
you don't want them to get eaten. Now, I don't hate them.
Right.
I don't. Okay, maybe Julia wants them to get eaten.
I definitely wanted them to get eaten.
I didn't want them to get eaten, but I was sort of indifferent. But okay, let's get into it.
Sure.
It starts off with these girls, and they're teens, and clearly living all very well. Expats living in Mexico, and you got the interracial relationship going on. It's 2019, and you got the two sisters who really don't seem to care for each other very much. One's very quiet, the other one's very popular. She's the popular sister, so she's sort of embarrassed of her stepsister, who's, being bullied. And, the first thing opens up with them pushing these other girls, pushing her into the pool and all of her books and everything like this. This is the Mia character. And her sister just does jack shit, like to help her out. And I'm like, well, you're a little asshole.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I mean, like you, Mike, I didn't hate the characters, but the problem is you don't really like them. You know what I mean? And you figure out, kind of like you mentioned in the documentary, they're not really acting. You kind of figure them out right away. I don't like, I guess you would say the popular sister, as you call her, because right away, sure, when you have marriages happen and you got child from one marriage and another child from the other marriage, and they're not always going to instantly click, but you would think that the popular girl, I don't know names, because again, none of these characters were memorable to me.
Here was another thing with the names. Sasha, Alexa, and then there was like Nicole. Nicole was just the spaz.
Yeah, or Nikki, I think they called her. Yeah,
and then there was Mia, who's the smart girl.
Yeah. But I mean, I already didn't like Mia's sister. You know what I mean? Because
Sasha.
Just because your mom married her dad doesn't mean you got to treat them like garbage when they're being picked on by someone else. Yeah. And then it already got the gears clicking. I mean, like, okay, I know how this is going to end. This shark attack, they're going to become besties, or someone's going to sacrifice themselves or something. One's going to be dying and saying I'm sorry and all the tropey stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, didn't hate the characters, but I didn't really like them, and you couldn't really differentiate between the four of them aside from skin color, in my opinion. You know what I mean? They're all the same, other than different nationalities.
I thought Mia stood out a little bit because she was a little bit smarter, but then she sort of jumps into it very quickly too.
Exactly. She's only a loner very briefly. Yeah.
Go ahead, Julia.
Underwater, I kept not knowing who was who. I couldn't remember who Sasha was. At one point, I thought Sasha had been eaten, when in fact she hadn't been. They were pretty much clones of each other.
Yeah, that's what I
we're
mean.
sorry that you were disappointed that she wasn't eaten just at that particular moment.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. Aside from, you had two white girls, you had a black one, and then you had an Asian girl. That's
Asian
the
girl,
only
yeah.
way you can tell them apart. And that's one of the things I liked about the first movie is, with Mandy Moore and the other actress, one of them at least had a blue light on their face mask, so you knew who was who when shit was going down, because sometimes it's hard to see through, the equipment. This movie was a lot darker. Underwater, harder to tell what's going on, in my opinion. I was watching it on my laptop, but still, it's hard to tell who's who because no one's got any flashlights on their helmets. No one has anything to be different from each other and know what's going on with who.
Isn't this always the case, though, with sequels? Sequels the typical sequel goes a little bit further in terms of being over the top.
Right.
There's probably, you're more concerned with, body count or kills than you are with storyline. And unfortunately, even though this had the same director, it seems to have fallen victim to some of that. A lot of the exposition was given through dialogue. Like in the very beginning, when you see the guy from My Big Fat Greek Wedding, I called it My Big Fat Shark Movie. In the notes, he was in there, and he's automatically talking about the caves. Nobody's been down there in forever. It's unexplored, and you don't know what's there. And you're like, okay, because I hadn't seen it in 2 years, 3 years now. So I'm like, I had forgotten most of it. And I'm like, okay, we're going down into that tells me right away within like the first 10 minutes, you got it with the sisters. They're going to reconcile. I get, where it's going to happen in the setting, down there in this underwater city. And the kid, the black girl, Sasha, is kind of an asshole. It's not my fault that nobody likes her. But then again, I thought, because with all the history of teaching, that's kids.
Right.
Kids are just shitty to each other, man.
Kids are assholes.
And they just, your brain doesn't fully develop until you're 25. So you just say nasty shit, and then like 5 minutes later, you want to be friends again. And so I was sort of, you're an asshole, but, you're 17 or 18 or whatever the hell you are. So, they get this idea to go on some boat trip that, it's totally lame. And now I have to tell, Alexa and Nicole that I'm not going to make it, good, dumbass. You might actually fucking learn something, you stupid. Never mind. But anyway, they decide that they're going to buck the program because.
Uh-oh.
Oh, dear.
See? It's been a while since we had him freeze on us, so, we're
I'm
about
sure
to.
he'll be back in a minute.
Oh, yeah.
Just have to twiddle our thumbs and.
There he is. There he is.
Feel free to continue talking. In my absence, I'm probably not adding all that much to the chit chat, but they decide to. You can hear me now?
Yes, you're good.
Okay. So they decide that they're going to buck the program because Alexa and Nicole show up in their fabulous white Jeep.
Yep.
And they're going to go someplace that nobody's ever gone before. And the next thing you know, they're out there hiking in the middle of nowhere. And I'll be honest, the Dominican Republic looked beautiful.
Yeah, the scenery was great.
Yeah, the cinematography in this movie was tight. There was a lot to be said for the locations. And like Julia said, there was a lot to be said for the look of the underwater Mayan city. They spent a lot. You were right in that in the first movie, it's just absolutely just blue open space. But you could only see maybe 10 feet in front of you. Here, you almost had like a sensory overload kind of thing, at least in the very beginning going on when you're looking at the sets in the tank. It's so, what's happening behind, this pillar here and what's happening there. And one of you guys take it. What went on from there? So they're down there in the city. They're
Mhm.
diving. It looks gorgeous, and three people with a third of their brain functioning, or four of them, decide just that they're gonna take all this stuff and go ahead.
I was just I just thought it was interesting when the sharks finally attacked. They made sure to go back and reference what Mia's dad was doing. You mentioned, oh, I found this tunnel. It's never been opened. Blah blah. That exposition, and then just all of a sudden they're able to figure out that him finding this tunnel, opening it up, is what caused, which is what basically freed the sharks to be able to roam into their area and stuff like. I mean. Yeah, it's entirely possible, but it's very on the nose, very like simply written, and I'm just like, okay. I mean, did you have to explain that? Because that really, in my opinion, had nothing to do with sharks being there. Sharks could have just been there for the sake of being there. You know what I mean? They didn't have to say that. They were blocked away from this part of the area for thousands and thousands of years, and that's why they're blind and stuff like that. But I just thought it was just kind of hokey that was the reason why that they were in that area where the girls were.
They seem to vacillate between being super panicky to being super intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
Like it flip-flopped, they couldn't decide, whether they were, like super geniuses figuring out how this must have happened and being super determined, to just screeching, in a panic and flailing around the next second. And I thought that maybe, that would have been something you would have seen in more adult characters.
Yeah, because all we really got from, other than Mia, because Mia's the quiet outsider. The other three are just party girls. They're there just to have fun and yell and scream.
They're just dumb kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. So oh my God, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's just interesting. Like you said, I never even thought of it that way. That now they can all of a sudden be calm and figure this stuff out when we've only known them as being the loud, I wouldn't say obnoxious, but loud teenager party girl type characters.
No, but even if they were, I mean, the fact that they had just been attacked by a giant shark, probably would not have enabled a great deal of critical thinking in most teenagers.
Right.
They probably would have been, in a like a frozen, or like, an absolute state of frenzy and panic. Because basically that was what was happening in the first movie, and those ladies were a lot more settled.
Well, we've come on to one of the faults that I found. I'm not sure whether it was meant to be part of their character, but they have figured out at some point that the shark is blind and that it can't see them. And that it is therefore locating them by sound. You think that would have taught them to shut up,
right?
And stop flashing around, but it doesn't. It's like
nope. You got to scream, you got to screech, you got to panic, you got to cry, you got to whine.
You got to basically tell this blind shark where you are.
Basically, yes, because otherwise the movie would be over in about 15 minutes as they quietly worm their way out of the situation and hopefully into something a little bit better. A difficult cast of characters that the script really didn't seem to match. And it sounds like, like I'm bagging the movie. I just got through watching the movie, and there were some scenes there with those sharks. I was kind of riveted. And you're just like, holy shit, who's going to make it here? It turns out that they stumble into Ben, who apparently has been getting it on with one of the girls or something like that. And because remember, she's like, they're like, how did you find it? It's like, Ben brought me here. And like,
right.
Oh, Jesus. So, he gets the chomp. Ben's gone. They try to, use his guideline, but then that expires.
Because I think it's torn, isn't it?
Yeah, it's torn. And I found the claustrophobia kind of screwy, and it was like, oh, this is kind of fucked up. But then what really got me was
claustrophobia at all.
I was just saying, what really got me was that they had to keep going down.
Mm-hmm.
They had to just keep going lower and lower into the tank, and I'm like, this is fucked, man. And I remember seeing it, you know, with all the sounds and on the big screen, and it had a different impact from, you know, just watching it today. But yeah, I mean, I did like the set designs here. I like the set designs, you know, and it was actually quite, I mean, I don't know how they did it, you know, in the tank in London, but it was actually quite convincing. I thought so, at least. Yeah,
Yeah,
I thought
they
that was
looked
okay.
like they looked like real caves and stuff to me too. Like I thought the underwater set was really nice. My only problem was maybe because like you said earlier, this is something that should have been seen in the cinema. Since I was watching on my laptop, you know,
Yeah, it doesn't translate as
doesn't
well.
translate. It was very, very dark and, like I
Yeah.
said, hard to pick a lot of the stuff out for me.
I saw this in a mega multiplex with, you know, all the sound and the trimmings and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, I've got like a 31-inch TV here. It didn't, even with that, and I recognize it. I'm like, this doesn't translate as well. This is something you need like 55 inches and like a complete, you know, sound system to really transfer over. Which, you know, sort of illustrates some of the weakness in the story, that you're sort of dependent on the visuals, maybe. I don't know. Hold on, I lost my notes here for a second. And then there was, I mean, they had some decent jump scares in there, like when the shark ate the water drone.
Yes.
That scared the living hell out of me. Like, I hadn't seen it in 3 years. Like, oh shit, you know, and that scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, a lot of the jump scares worked for me. That's for sure. And I'm always a big defender of jump scares because a lot of people think that they, you know, to use like a wrestling term, like, you know, cheap heat, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But if done properly, you know, it works, and then you can get that little oh shit moment, and then that little bit of sigh of relief. There was like 2 or 3 that got me in this movie, and so
Yeah.
they were done effectively, if you ask me.
Yeah, yeah. There was the alarm, when the alarm goes off for her oxygen, and the shark starts doubling back on them. You know, because there's that scene where the shark just kind of, it is like it's an alarming looking animal.
Yes, I do like the light. I like the white eyes.
Design.
Yep, and then all the little scars all over the body.
Yeah,
I thought was really a cool look.
From scraping into the rocks. Say again, Julia?
That shark had been through some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a fright. I mean, the sharks that we saw in the first movie were just your standard run-of-the-mill sharks. They weren't giant sharks or anything like that. Here you're dealing with what looks like a pretty huge fucking shark. And somehow the cataract eye or the blind eye made it more frightening. I thought it was a pretty impressive creature. They said in the documentary that basically what they had, I guess when they weren't using CGI, was a mechanical shark's head. And they said that during the filming, a lot of times what they did in the tank in London was set them up and not tell the actors when the shark was going to be around the corner. So some of the scares and the startles were actually, you know, on the genuine side, you know, because they were constantly just, you know, having the shark here, and, you know, the girls didn't know where it was, and then it would just suddenly appear. And they're like, we knew it was going to be there, but we didn't know exactly where, and then suddenly it would appear. And so the director got, you know, more of a genuine reaction out of it.
But see, that's what's good for, in my opinion, that's what's good for a good jump scare. Even when you know the anticipation is coming, you're just waiting for it to happen, and it still gets you. And again, you know, that shark design, I think it's pretty scary looking. So it can get anyone jumping.
I remember we talked about that when we talked about the Blair Witch Project, and that the director would pass notes out to the 3 of the actors that the other actors weren't allowed to see. So, for example, it would be to Heather, and he'd be like, get them lost, like get them really lost today. You know, to genuinely get a sense of frustration, you know, after hours and hours and hours, you know, of like hiking and, you know, filming all day, that, you know, they just had no idea where they were, even though they had a guide with them at all times, you know, on the set, you know, to pull them out. But it just made them a little more exhausted, you know, and a little more cranky. And so when the scene shot, it was more authentic. So,
Mhm.
you know, a bit similar in that sense. Julia?
That's what you do when you have people who can't act.
Yeah, these are kids.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's kind of sad because there's no shortage of talented actors around.
It's a valid point. It's a valid point. They weren't, I mean, these weren't, you know, top caliber performances or anything like that.
Right. Well, I think and one of them obviously they only got the job because their dad was Sylvester Stallone. So.
Oh, really? Which one?
Not Mia. Nicole. Yeah, that was Sylvester.
Oh, really?
That's one of Sylvester Stallone's daughters.
Oh,
so that's the only reason why I was able to tell her apart. You know what I mean? From everybody, because I knew she was Stallone's daughter.
Well, that explains a lot. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It makes you wonder why they would. I mean, why the director would choose to go in a direction like that. I mean, who had, you know, made a first movie that was successful, by all accounts, critically successful. I don't know if it made a ton of money because you know, maybe it just didn't. But to come back this second time around and just. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, you think about it,
maybe
like
the director's heart wasn't in it.
That's
maybe
true
it was
too.
something he was just doing for the money.
It's entirely possible because he didn't. That's interesting because nobody from the production or directing team spoke in the doc.
Oh, really?
It was just the four girls. It was just the four girls and my big fat shark movie guy. Grant.
That's interesting because usually they'll at least pull in like a writer or a producer or a director.
There was nothing like that. And, you know, the girls were saying we're trying our best because we were all fans of the first movie, you know, and, you know, we understand we're taking it in a different direction, but, you know, we want to, you know, do as good a job or as the best job as we can, you know, to make, you know, as good a movie as the first one. But, yeah, I mean, maybe he looked at it, you know, and said, oh, God, you know, this isn't. But by then it's too late.
Right. You've already filmed enough.
You don't have enough budget to reshoot everything. I mean, it's not a huge budgeted movie.
Right.
You know, this isn't a Marvel movie that's going, you know, for 200 million or something like that. So, okay. That's just kind of the way that it plays out. And then, you know, where it sort of got weird with me was when, you know, that guy Carl downstairs playing Roxette. And then the Carpenters, and you're like, what the fuck does this have to do with anything?
Well, all I know is I really loved hearing the Roxette song. I brightened up.
Jeez. Roxette.
That was her favorite part of the movie.
Yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, how are you playing Roxette? You know, and then the Carpenters down here, and then, you know, Carl gets it. And then Grant shows up, and, you know, he's trying to pull them out. And I was thinking, you know, I wrote this in the notes. I'm like, if I was their dad, I'd save them just to kill them when I got them on dry land.
Yeah.
I mean, because this is like, I mean, I don't even know if you would punish a kid for something because, like, people have died now.
Yeah,
you know,
I think
they're going to carry that with them for the rest of their lives.
The experience is punishment enough.
Yeah. You wouldn't. Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah, well, they lost their dad. I don't think their mother's going to be very preoccupied with punishing them.
That's true.
She'd be too busy crying, bless her.
Yeah. I think they've learned. Nicole, how does Nicole go?
Well, they were trying to climb up that cable.
Oh, that's right. He gets them out into that air pocket.
Yeah.
That was a good sequence, that.
Yeah, that was really good because they had one girl going up, and Nicole was so scared she jumped on with her, and her weight
jumped on Alexis.
Jumped on Alexis, and her weight was pulling it down because it's attached to the rocks up top. So she falls, and then she gets bitten, and then just torn in half by two sharks. While Alexis, she's basically upside down, drowning in the water with her foot caught in the winch or whatever you would call it.
When her head goes under the water and you just see that shark coming right at her face, that was
That was
Yeah,
a
that
good
was a
scene. That
decent
was
shot.
really
Yeah.
that was a really intense, and I didn't know because with these movies you don't know who's going to live and who's going to die. It's always surprising. For
Oh,
all we
come
knew,
on. It was
no.
obvious who was going to live and who was going to die.
Okay,
No,
well,
because I'll be
At the
honest.
beginning.
When I first saw it, I thought that the bully girls, because I couldn't remember it.
mhm,
I remember that I enjoyed it. That's why I recommended it. But
mhm,
I thought that the girls who pushed Mia in the water were the ones who were going to get eaten. Because
mhm,
I wrote that in the note. I said bullies make good shark bait.
mhm.
So I honestly had forgotten. I'm like, okay, they're going to get it. They're the first ones who are going to get it. And then, like, I was kind of following it along, but not remembering from the first one. And, it's true what I said about the exposition, but I genuinely thought the bullies were going to get it. And I never did get to the point where I disliked the girls. They just,
Right.
I was just kind of neutral about the whole thing. I'm like, okay, whoever dies here dies. I don't actively dislike them, but I don't care either.
Right.
At the same time. But then Grant gets it, and I had forgotten about that.
Mhm.
And that scared the hell out of me. I know you girls can do it. And then just all of a sudden, the shark just comes and just grabs him and drags him down from under there.
Now, the first thing that came to my mind, it's an ongoing joke because like we've always said, there's not really that many good shark movies. That ongoing thing about Deep Blue Sea. The main reason to watch Deep Blue Sea is Sam Jackson. He's giving this great speech, and then he's eaten in the middle of the speech, and it looks like shit. Well, big fat Greek shark food, whatever you want to call it, he's giving this nice speech, and he's eaten, and that's how you do a scene like that. They took I think the concept of the Sam Jackson, because CGI in Deep Blue Sea is shit. No matter what, that this one looked good.
Yeah.
The power, the air quotes powerful speech that Dad's giving in this, cut short by getting eaten, I think was done a hell of a lot better. And you don't hate the dad, but you kind of like him. You know what I mean? You kind of like him.
Yeah.
He's a recognizable actor. He's not a douchebag.
Matthew Modine was.
Yeah, he wants to save the kid. So you're just kind of like, oh, God damn it, when he gets it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Then you're just like, these girls are fucked.
I was a bit unhappy about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, he did nothing wrong.
And he was likable in the beginning before any of this happened. He was at home with the wife and the two girls. He was fine. He was fine. He was a nice dad. You know what I mean? He was not an extravagant character, but he's like, okay, yeah, he can be. He's a good person. And then of course that's why he gets it. In these type of movies.
And for a woman my age, he is of course very nice eye candy.
Well, we'll send you some copies or something. All right. He also got on his stepdaughter, I think, at the beginning of the movie, or maybe it was the mother who got on Sasha. It was like, that's a really awful thing to say. I thought it was him, though. So it sort of endears him in that he's trying to, sort of mend this thing, but he's also diplomatic with his stepdaughter.
Right.
Hey, we're just going to send you on this great shark trip, and, he's trying to do the right thing, and he ends up getting it too.
Right.
Which surprised the hell out of me. So then they figure that they have to go back down into the water. And this is where we start to get to the current. Now, this was another thing that didn't translate nearly as well off the big screen.
Yeah, it was just hard for me to see.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the fact during the current, if there was a lot of bubbles, I wouldn't even know what was going on.
Yeah. And it seems, because you're watching it on the big screen and there's sound, and it really is kind of overwhelming to watch. I wish there was an opportunity to see this on the big screen, but it hasn't happened. And that's where that current kind of looked hellish. Well, it looked really hellish. And that's where we first lose Sasha, who gets sucked down into the cistern.
Right.
She gets sucked down into there. I don't know how she necessarily managed to survive that, but then it turns out Alexa drowns. And the one girl, drowned the Asian girl. It looks like she's going to make it, but then she doesn't, and she ends up drowning.
Mm-hmm.
And it occurred to me, like this is a far more difficult scenario than the first movie.
Yeah.
With the first movie, it was basically waiting for help, realizing that help wasn't going to come. Somebody came down there and got killed, and they're just trying to hold out the entire time. This is like an elaborate maze.
Yeah, if you think about it,
if
you think about it, I mean, I'm not saying it's easy, but if you think about it, all they really had to do in the first one was safely get out of the cage and swim upwards. Right. This one, they had to navigate through all this shit, plus deal with any type of, forces of nature underwater.
Yeah.
Which I thought that was a really neat concept. You know what I mean? Because I didn't expect that type of stuff.
I thought it was a neat concept. I think they probably could have clearly they could have cast better.
Yeah.
And it didn't necessarily have to be a teen trope.
Mm-hmm.
They could have cast someone, that was the same age as the girls in the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Or even some guys,
Mm-hmm.
that would have worked out fine too. The guys didn't necessarily have to be, shark bait.
Right.
They didn't have to be, like human chum or something like that. So I think that's kind of, for me, the main weakness of the film.
Mm-hmm.
Just the casting and the age group of the cast of characters. Yeah, because it vacillated back and forth between being super smart and then just super screechy.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a consistency that way. But anyway, they make it, long story, they make it out to the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh shit, they made it out. And then when I saw them and they were at all the rocks, I'm like, well, how the fuck are they going to get out of that? Because again, I couldn't remember. And then they see the boat, and I'm like, okay, I guess they're going to make it over to the boat, and they're fucking chumming.
Yeah, I lost my shit when I saw that.
That was a good bit. That was definitely a good bit.
Yeah,
because I totally forgot about that little field trip of like the students, and like I called it like Jaws 3 because when they're underwater in Jaws 3 with Louis Gossett Jr. and all that, but they're in this little bit where they get to see, and you forget that in the very beginning they're feeding the sharks. That's the point of the field trip, to see how they feed the sharks. I'm like, wow, they showed up and it's literally feeding time, and they're going to be caught in the middle.
And the same fucking boat that those same girls are on.
Yeah.
From the beginning of the movie. And I was like, okay, this movie definitely has moments.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely has moments in it. It's just like you said at the beginning, difficult to compare to the first film.
Right.
They're swimming for it, and that was one of the best endings.
Mm-hmm.
I think the ending was actually rather solid in this, in that they just, to some extent, because then they start swimming, and then Sasha goes down,
mm-hmm.
and that's where Mia turns into Dirty Harry.
Yeah, and okay.
Go on.
Okay, this is where it all went to shit, as far as I'm concerned. It's already been established that these sharks grab you, you're gone.
Mm-hmm.
And they can tear you to pieces in seconds. Everybody else who's been grabbed by a shark is dead.
Yep.
But this woman not only survives, but she comes out the other side being able to walk. And, I'm sorry, I don't buy it. I just don't. And not only that, but the mark on her torso looked much smaller than the actual shark itself
mm-hmm.
could have made. And then you've got Mia, and she gets grabbed by a shark.
Yep.
And there's not a scratch on her. I'm sorry, I just do not buy it.
Yeah, I think she had
instant death in both cases.
Yeah, I think she had some wounds on her leg, but it wasn't. Her leg would have been off of her body.
You can see the leg here in the overlay.
But the thing is, you look at those teeth compared to the wound.
Look at the size of that shark.
Yeah, that leg would be gone. That leg would be like dental floss.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, she turns into Dirty Harry. First off, I've never fired a flare gun, so I don't know how much skill is required. But she knew exactly to go for the flare gun. She hit it dead on. And then I think the fact that there's like 2 or 3 slow motion scenes that just had me eye rolling, because I thought they were unnecessary. and they took away from the intensity. And right there, the fact that it's just a slow motion flare gun shot to the shark, I was literally I was kind of cringing and eye rolling. I'm just like, no, it kind of deflated the scene for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then she pulls. She remembers while she's being bitten by a shark. She remembers to pull the shark tooth out of her pocket and fight the shark off with a shark tooth. And I'm just like,
well, that's a reprise of something that we had in the first movie.
Yeah, they went for the eye.
The dream sequence, she stabs a shark in the eye, and she stabs a shark in the eye.
Was that while she was being bitten?
In the first movie? In the first movie, I think.
In the first movie is when she's having this hallucination that she's made it to the surface.
Okay.
And then she actually gouges out the eyes with her fingers. In the first one. And this one, it's just.
But that's a hallucination.
Right. But, okay. Well, let's put it this way. This isn't a hallucination.
Exactly.
She just happens to be a crack shot of the flare gun. She just happens to have that, that miracle shark tooth that her dad gave her in the very beginning, and she just happens to stay alive enough while in its jaws to be able to puncture its eye with it
without being like disemboweled.
Exactly.
Torn to the bone, for half of her body.
Because when they get out of, they kill the shark or they get away with it. I don't remember if they actually kill the thing, but they're both climbing up. You see Mia's stomach, and it's torn. I'm like, how are they still standing? It was just the like you said, part one, hallucination. There's no hallucinations. It's just the believability factor just kind of went to the basement.
It would have been, I think, a stronger ending if they had both. If it had ended in the chumming scene.
Mm-hmm. If they would have just gone under and that was it.
Yeah. Yeah, like one of the most powerful shark movies, and I only saw it once because it's so fucking depressing. And I think we talked about it during when we talked about part one here. Was Open Water, and Open Water it's based on a true story of a group of scuba divers who went out on a trip to Jamaica, and the boat goes back, picks everybody up, goes back to the hotel or the resort. And they don't realize until the next morning that they didn't bring two people back. And so you have these two divers, a couple, that come up out of the water and the boat is fucking gone. And that is probably among the more realistic, what I would imagine.
See, I honestly, I was expecting, don't get me wrong, I thought it was like, air quotes, fun ending. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For a shark movie. I was expecting it's the chum in the water, the blood in the water. They go down and their blood gets mixed with the chum and no one even notices a thing.
Or the bully girl sees them getting eaten.
Or maybe the only one that sees it, because again, it's kind of hokey with the girls and the bully, because Mia has to give the bully that one, fuck you look at the end of the movie, and now the bully kind of respects her bullshit.
I wanted her to punch the bully, actually.
I think that would have been cool, but I think it would have been kind of neat. Maybe they both go down during the blood and the chum scene, and the only one that sees what really happens maybe is the bully or something like that.
Yeah, that would have been fine, because that's what happens in Open Water. They just, at one time, they both just go under and they don't come up again. It's a rough, brutal movie. So, I don't know. I mean, I mean, like, I'm enjoying it. I feel like we're talking about this is like when we had that Silver Bullet show.
Yeah, we enjoyed Silver Bullet, but we just dogged the hell out of it.
Yeah, we did. We dogged the hell out of it, and that's the way it happens sometimes.
It's true.
So, I mean, let's get to the part where we review the movie, and rate the movie. Grade the movie, so to speak. Here on this show, we have a system that goes from 0 to 5. So 0, 0.5, 1, all the way to 5. So 0, for example, is, if 0 is I'd rather live the rest of my life without soap than watch this movie again, all the way to 5, which is, this is cinema. How would you rate the movie?
Like I said, it sounds like we're dogging it, and I enjoyed it. I did. I said it first thing in the morning.
I own a copy.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be fair. I'm gonna honestly say I'm gonna give it a 3. You know what I mean? Because first off, like we said, the cinematography is great. You know, you don't love the characters, but you don't hate them. So you know, I can't dog it because I didn't hate them. I love the look of the sharks. You know, and there were some great sequences. You know, when they're trying to climb up the cord, and you know, one falls underwater. She's the chum scene, and as goofy as the final sequences, I had fun with it. You know, it was a shark movie, so I'm gonna say I think well deserved 3.
Okay, Julia, what do you got?
I'd give it 2.5.
Okay.
Because I really wouldn't want to watch this again. You know.
Fair enough.
But I did love the underground city. I thought that was gorgeous. I liked, like I said, the bit when we first saw the big cavern with all the clay figures around the altar. I liked the shark. I liked the father and the mother. I thought it'd be much more interesting to have the stories set around them.
That's one thing. You know, it was Nia Long as the mom, and I saw her name, and she's a well-recognized actress, and she's literally in the movie for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it must have been a quick payday.
Yeah.
Must have been a quick payday. Dave shooting in the Dominican Republic, and you know, then I'm going.
Yes, it loses 1 point for the sheer predictability of it. I'm afraid, you know. But I wouldn't say I hate it. If you give me, you know, ask me a list of movies that I hate, it wouldn't be on there. But it's kind of just, you know.
Okay,
some people might like it. Yeah.
Give me 2 movies that you do hate. Now that we're talking about it.
Oh, The Princess Bride.
Oh, I hate The Princess Bride too. Yeah.
Oh wow!
I hate that fucking movie.
Yeah, me too. I was trying to think. There must be some others that I hate besides
I'm sure
that.
you probably
There's bound to be others that I hate besides that. I wouldn't say I hate E.T. I hate Jaws. I hate Jaws.
Really?
Oh wow!
Not
really?
that big on Scream. Mind you, again, no, I don't think that would come up on a list of hate movies. Do you know I'm actually lost for hated movies? There's a whole bunch of movies I was forced to watch as a kid because we had like one room that was warm and the rest of the room, you know. And I was a kid, and so we had to watch all these 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s screwball comedies.
Oh.
Hated them all. Hated them all, except for Abbott and Costello. I quite liked Abbott and Costello. But
yeah, that's tough to beat.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the plus side, I did get to see some very good film noir, so it wasn't all bad.
Yeah. So for me, I will go with a 3. I'll go with a solid 3. Because if I'm completely honest, this is far from the first movie that simply seemed to cast pretty girls, you know, as cannon fodder, so to speak. This is not the first, and it's definitely not going to be the last film to just cast girls because they're attractive, or, you know, I'm assuming that's why they were cast, you know, to fill, you know, a role, you know. It wasn't as good as the first one, but it wasn't bad.
Right.
Again, great cinematography. I would have liked to have seen more of the Greek wedding guy and Nia Long. I think what this movie was missing was an adult component. You got that in the first movie from Matthew Modine, who was this sort of recurring guy who was just hovering above, trying to figure something out to get those girls up again. You had that a little bit here, but not enough. The other 2 guys, Ben and whatever his name was, they just went out too quickly. But good cinematography, some good scenes. Yeah, I mean, as shark movies go, probably one of the better ones that I've seen, because like Eric will attest to, there are a lot of ones that are 1,000 times worse than this.
Or at least one of the better shark sequels, too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I would watch this over Jaws 2.
Jaws 2, I'll tell you what, Jaws 2 was boring as shit.
Yeah. This is not a boring movie. Yeah, I didn't find it to be boring. Not me personally.
Right. Jaws 3, I can laugh at how bad it is. Jaws 4, I can laugh at how bad it is. So I'm at least, air quotes, entertained. You know what I mean? Jaws 2, I just thought was freaking boring. This is miles ahead of Jaws 2. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. Is there anything about the movie that you wanted to discuss that we missed?
Not really, because the only thing I was going to bring up is I wish we had more of the parents, but we've already talked about that.
Yeah, because those are actual actors.
Mm-hmm.
This looked like you cast a bunch of college kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just made me wonder.
Like you went to a sorority party and just, hey, you're pretty. Do you want to be in a movie?
Right.
And it worked out that way.
The Greek wedding guy, he was in it for a decent amount, but it's just like I said, just made me wonder why'd you hire Nia Long just for 5 minutes? I mean, I'm sure she took it so she can get a vacation in the Dominican Republic and make a nice payday. But I'm just like, anybody could have played that role. So it was just kind of disappointing because I like her. Every time she pops up, I really like watching her perform. And all she did was yell at her daughter and drive around for a little bit.
Yeah, that was it. Okay, the two of you plug something. What do you got coming up, Eric?
We got for Two Bearded
Underworld,
Losers.
Dragon Tattoo.
I will tell you this because you're gonna roll your eyes. I will say this, after I'm done with the Kickboxer franchise, and I'll leave it at that, Mike, per your request, because like I've always told you to cleanse the palate when I'm not doing franchises and stuff like that. I like to throw in a little vampire movies. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do a vampire franchise based on your recommendation. I'm going to dig in on my channel, the Underworld series.
Those are fun.
Then I've only seen the first two, and then I saw the prequel, the Rise of the Lycans or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And then for Two Bearded Losers, our last episode, which was one of my favorite episodes. Alex threw a curveball at me for Christmas time. We did Eyes Wide Shut by Stanley Kubrick.
That's certainly a Christmas movie, yes.
Yeah. And honestly, that was the first time I watched it. And if you haven't seen or listened to the episode, I would hope you would, because I think it's one of our best conversations that we've had on the show. Maybe top 3 conversations that we've had on the show. Highly recommend that one.
Okay.
And I'm going to be honest, I wasn't going into the movie thinking I was going to really enjoy it. I did. But
it's not a bad movie. It's just weird.
But the way me and Alex talked about, and he has his significance of the meaning, and me kind of bouncing off, I'm very, very proud of how that episode turned out. Just the way we're talking about the film and Kubrick and stuff like that.
That certainly is not the typical movie that you guys cover.
Right.
It's a Tom Cruise movie, but I only saw it once, and I'm just like, what the fuck is going on here, man? This is just okay.
Yeah, so I highly recommend that episode for us.
So please, I'm waiting with bated breath. Please tell me when the kickboxer franchise is over with. Please, God.
I got 2 more, and then I'm done.
Oh my God, there's 2. What are you on? Like number 5 already?
5 original, and now I'm on the reboots. Like you said in your stream earlier, your little haul that you got from your dad. It's all tongue in cheek, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know what I'm getting into.
Yes. Oh, that's right. Yeah, and speaking of that, I don't want to cut you off, Julia, but speaking of people who don't know what they're getting into, there was a teaser trailer for the new Scream movie today.
Yeah, well, you already saw
what boy. Wow. Hop on the hamster wheel, everybody. It's time to
You saw my conversation on Twitter. Whoop de fucking do. Who cares?
For 10 months this past year.
Mm-hmm.
Of my timeline filled with what's going to happen with Halloween.
Yeah.
Who's going to win between Laurie and Michael? Now, how long before this Scream movie is?
Yeah. Scream, I think, is March.
Hopefully, all right, so it won't be that fucking long.
Right.
But yeah, it's the new thing to jump on.
It's just going to feel that fucking long with all the the advertising material we're going to be bombarded with.
I know it's going to be a fucking exercise in relativity.
Yeah, it's just, and I'm not knocking it because I have some friends that are super, super into it, but I don't care about, like, there's a new set picture. There is a new theory. It's a teaser trailer. It's a minute long. They're on a subway train, and Ghostface is there. like you said on Twitter, it's just a regular train ride in New York City.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I've seen more horrible things on Twitter from New York City subrides than I saw in that fucking trailer.
right. It's nothing we haven't seen before, and we'll continue to see.
And that's what I was saying, you know. Halloween, they talked about it for 10 months. A week after it was over with, it was gone.
Yeah.
Everybody moved on to the next thing.
And the funny thing is, everybody hated it. Well, that's because you were hyping yourself up with every little thing. It
sucks.
Yeah.
It's because it sucks. I could have told you that 10 fucking months ago. You talking monkeys? Ugh. It's like playing cards with my brother's kids. All right, Julia, what do you got coming up? Hold on, I need another drink. Hold on. Go ahead.
I'm not entirely sure what I've got coming up on my YouTube channel.
Oh.
I'm trying to add some crackle like that of an old record player onto something. At least I intend to try to. So, so there might be an SCP, Serve, Contain, Protect, on my YouTube channel. There might not be. You might get, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. This cold weather's playing havoc with my voice. But I would strongly suggest, if you haven't seen Wednesday, watch it. It's wonderful.
I really
2 days.
Me and my daughter, we binge watched it in a weekend. It was really good, really fun. And I also want to throw in, since Julie was recommending stuff that's not on our YouTube channel, Del Toro's Pinocchio. Absolutely loved it. Me and my daughter watched it right when I got home from work that last Friday.
I've heard good things.
Absolutely loved it. And there's also a making of documentary that you have to find separately on Netflix with Del Toro and host it. It's just as fantastic when you find out how long it's been in production and stuff like that. But yeah, highly recommend Pinocchio.
I know this is... Go ahead, Julia.
To continue, Savage Land. I'm not even sure if I've mentioned it before or not.
No.
Savage Land is a very, very low budget indeed zombie movie for people who hate zombie movies or who think they've seen every kind of zombie movie there is.
I'm looking for that then.
I do hope we could do a sort of a watch, maybe not a watch party, but a discussion on it, because it's truly, you have to see it to be, to see why I'm so in favor of this. It's what I call an authentic zombie movie. It's made as a found footage documentary thing, but
is it full of Halloween fans or something?
No. Fuck no.
They're like zombies. No. Okay.
No.
Oh, it's on Tubi.
If you, it's also on YouTube on several channels.
2015, I believe.
I think that's the date.
I saw this. I know exactly what you're. This is the one where there's one survivor, the Mexican man.
It's the realest zombie movie you've ever seen.
Yeah, it's riveting. It's riveting.
You can believe it.
Yeah, it's funny because there are almost no zombies in it.
Yeah, it looks like the full movie itself, hour and 21 minutes, is on YouTube.
Yeah, that's a freaky movie. I remember that. Yeah, and like everything is like after the fact.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a really, really good movie. Yeah, I wouldn't mind coming back for that. Maybe we can do our thing, just the three of us, and come back for that.
Yeah, I've never seen it
after the holidays. Okay. Yeah, sounds good. All right, so you're kind of up in the air trying to add some effects to your channel, but
I might end up just not doing the effects. We'll have to wait and see.
Okay. All right. So we've got that going on, and then Savage Land. Okay, for me, I just dropped my video today for You Won't Be Alone with some spoilers. Usually I'll just do a review with spoilers and I just lay it out there. But this is a movie that was just released this year. And it's been submitted by Australia as the best international feature to the Oscars. So I didn't want to give away too much. So I talked about it a little bit. It's like a 6-minute video. but it's the best. I think it's the best movie I've seen this year. And I got a BDR off eBay.
Mm-hmm.
I was waiting like all year for this movie to drop, and it just didn't. It just keeps dropping on Prime Video. You have to pay $5.99, and I'm like, I want my digital copy, and I found a copy, and it's just fantastic. So that just dropped today. Earlier today, I did a video with Sydney for Black Crab, and if any of you have Netflix, I cannot suggest strongly enough to you to watch the Swedish film Black Crab with Noomi Rapace.
Okay.
It is unbelievable film. It's a war film.
Okay.
It's a war film.
I think you've talked about it before in other episodes or something.
I was trying to. It's another movie, one of the best movies I've seen this year that absolutely no one talks about. And I wanted, the only person who talked about it was Triple Feature.
Yeah.
Over on YouTube, over on Twitter. But we weren't able to put something together to do a show about it. So finally I did it with Sydney, and she was blown away. She was blown away. We both gave it 4 out of 5.
Nice.
So yeah, very strong film.
Okay. Well, I think that's down on my list for this weekend, if not before.
Yeah, please get to it. Yeah, push it to the front of your queue. Next week, we'll kick off the holidays formally, episode 150. And I know we had talked about 150 being something like Cloverfield or something like that. As life turns out, it's going to be a Miracle on 34th Street. The last thing that, I had anticipated doing, but I'm looking forward to those 2 traditional films. And It's a Wonderful Life. Both movies I've never seen. So I'm looking forward to those.
Have you not watched them yet as of this recording?
No,
okay.
Have not yet. So I'm going to get to that, and probably one each week, as the shows draw close. But I'm also going to be working on a video for Connect. Takashi Miike has unleashed a series that no one is talking about on Hulu. And it's a film about serial killers. Naturally, with Miike, yeah. It's Korean. It's a Korean horror series directed by Takashi Miike. It's about serial killers, Korean organ harvesting, and a bit of a tinge into the paranormal. And I caught the first episode, and it's pretty fucking solid. Okay. So it's 6 episodes, hopefully by next Werewolf Wednesday. And in time
What's it called again?
Connect. I think for you, it will be on Disney UK. Or wherever else you might, you might acquire it. Connect Takashi Miike. I have to watch the following the next 5 episodes, but yeah, he's on to something. It's Takashi Miike. So yeah, it's pretty fucking good. So I'm gonna do that. I'd like to finish Cabinet of Curiosities, and I'd like to get to Pinocchio and get videos out on those. Between work and commute, I'm currently working at about 60 hours. Yeah. So, I would have to go like right to the wall, like every spare minute. And it's what I should actually be doing. Instead of just watching something stupid from another episode of Dark Shadows. I love that fucking show.
Drama cool.
Huh?
Drama cool. It's a drama as in drama and cool as in cool. One word. And it's a site that shows Asian series and movies, and it's on Drama Cool.
Okay, as long as you got as long as you have English subtitles, you're good because it's in Korean.
Ooh, just check. Does it have English subtitles?
This was like going to see Bollywood movies when I lived in India, and I'm like, I don't speak fucking Hindi, man. Come on.
Yes, it has English subtitles.
There you go. You're all squared away.
Sorted.
Perfect.
So that's it looks like our plans for the next few weeks. Let's see about maybe getting together for Savage Land, if not that, for something else after the holidays.
Sure.
My thanks to Eric from Hey Internet and Eric here.
Always, dude.
And my thanks to Morgan Scorpion for staying up so late to talk a B shark movie, across the pond there. I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, of course. And if I don't see you, have a good holiday and the New Year. We'll talk again after Christmas.
You all.
Yes. And thank you very much. And
absolutely.
We'll keep in touch. But if I don't see you again in a stream, I'll see you in 2023. It's only a few weeks away. It's really not that far.
Yeah, no shit.
11 days to Christmas. I still got some shopping to do.
So do I. My 10-year-old's still bugging me. We just started.
All right, guys. That's it for me. I'm going to jet on out of here. My thanks to both of you and all the best. Thanks to everybody in the chat. I see we have some people that are viewing but not in the chat. So thanks for stopping in, and I'll talk to you later.
Cheers.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.